The greatest forgetting of humanity is forgetting one's own presence. We remember our schedules, birthdays, and deadlines, yet forget the most important thing of all, forgetting that we are alive. Not alive in the physical sense, but alive in awareness, in conscious presence. And that is the greatest tragedy of modern society. Welcome to the Inner World Podcast. I'm Liam Johnson, your companion on the journey of exploring the inner self, cultivating wisdom, and elevating consciousness. This is a space where we share simple yet profound principles that help you build a mindful, resilient life from within to attain true wealth in soul, health, relationships, and finances. Today, we enter session 19 of the 21-day journey, Elevating Inner Awareness. A journey that, if you complete, I believe you will no longer be the same person. In the previous session, we untangled conflicts in communication and learned how to own possessions with peace and detachment. Today, you will step into a deeper dimension where the greatest life lessons await. Wealth in mindset and the truth about how you respond to life. We often try to change circumstances, change others, even change our destiny. But have you ever tried to change the way you respond to those circumstances? Because what makes you suffer is not the situation itself, but the self who brings it. And what keeps you stuck is not what someone did, but the label you placed on them and on the event. Today's topic will not stop at concepts. We will move through each layer, from recognizing karmic outcomes to understanding causes and conditions, then learning how to practice compassion, appreciation, and finally, creating a new inner self through merit and wisdom. Today's episode is divided into two main parts. The first part explores profound principles for transforming karma the moment it arrives, helping you break free from the recurring spiral of pain. The second part offers highly practical methods to rebuild an inner well. Every behavior, every mental image will be reprogrammed like a new operating system. And let me emphasize this. The final part of today's video will reveal a simple truth that has the power to transform your destiny if you truly understand and live by it. So stay until the end so you don't miss the most important insight of this journey. Why is it that some people collapse when faced with a life crisis, while others, encountering the same adversity, accept it and grow stronger? Why is it that the same issue brings suffering to one person, yet becomes the starting point of transformation for another? The answer, my friend, lies in how they respond. And that response is exactly where conscious awareness begins. Or doesn't. Take a moment. Reflect on your life. Have you ever found yourself angry but didn't know you were angry? Sad but unsure why? Or worse, you repeat the same mistake over and over until one day you cry out, "Why does this keep happening to me?" That's a clear sign of living unconsciously. We act, feel, and decide as if there's an old program running, and we don't even realize it. But here's what I want you to reflect on today. It's not the problem that causes suffering. It's the way we respond to it that creates repeated pain. Yes, it's not adversity that hurts you. It's the absence of conscious awareness when adversity comes that causes you to relive the same karmic patterns again and again. You've probably heard this before. Every unfavorable situation in your life is a result of karma in motion. It's not random. It's the consequence of a chain of causes and conditions that were formed long before. And the moment you know that you know, the moment you stop reacting automatically, pause, observe, and accept it with sincerity, that is the moment the karma is completed. not through prayer, not by waiting for time to pass, just by truly knowing and sincerely accepting the karma dissolves, right then and there. That means it won't come back to you. But if you continue to react unconsciously, that same karma may return to you. This is how the principle operates. It has been validated across generations through sincere inner practice. So you might ask, why don't I know? Why do I react? Because you forget. And the greatest forgetting of humanity is forgetting your own presence. We remember our work schedules, birthdays, and deadlines, but forget the most important thing, forgetting that we are alive. Not alive in the physical sense, but alive in mindfulness, in conscious awareness. And that is the greatest tragedy of modern society. People live fast, but understand very little of what's going on inside. People do so much, but few stop to ask, am I reacting or am I choosing? And it's in the moments when we don't choose that old karma takes over. And so it repeats like a scratched record stuck in the same groove. Same pain, same pattern, same loop. You see, we cannot escape karma. But we can complete it with clear awareness in each moment. Awareness, presence, sincerity is the key that unlocks the energy of karma. Not some external knowledge, not some magical technique, but the moment you return to yourself and live truthfully in this moment, right here. This opens up a perspective for you to truly see yourself. Because once you know that you are no longer a victim of any circumstance. I want you to remember this. No one can make you suffer if you are not unconscious with yourself. Now I invite you to pause, take a deep breath, and silently ask yourself, when was the last time I truly knew I was alive? Felt your own breath? You don't need to answer right away. But if you hold this question long enough, with enough sincerity, sooner or later you'll break free from the karmic loop. And at that moment, you won't just be alive, you will be truly awake. You know, there's a kind of pain almost everyone has experienced, and almost no one wants to face again. It's the kind of pain that doesn't come from the event itself, but from the person who brought the event into your life. And that is what I want to share with you next, after we've already realized together. It's not the problem that causes suffering, but the way we respond to it that creates repeated pain. But you'll see, sometimes that response isn't just a reflex, it's an emotional attachment to the person who brought the situation. And that you don't easily let go of. For example, if a stranger yells at you, you might brush it off. But if your own child says something similar, it could haunt you for a lifetime. Why is that? Because we don't just hurt from what was said, we hurt because of who said it. We're not just angry at the action, we're angry because of who did it to us. This is what I call the identity trap. We attach the title of someone close, someone important, someone intimate to the situation, and cannot separate the two. And it is this inability to separate them that makes the pain heavier, deeper, and more persistent. Think back to a recent unpleasant experience. Wasn't the most painful part not what happened, but who did it to you? If it had been a stranger, you might have easily moved on. But if it was someone you loved, someone you counted on, the pain multiplies. We don't suffer because of circumstances. We suffer because of how we label the people in those circumstances. And here is where a powerful but invisible truth begins to operate. No one is wrong. There is only the right condition to awaken the karma within us. You see, those who hurt you, may simply be the triggering conditions for what remains unhealed within you. And if you understand this, you will stop blaming others and begin learning your own lesson. It's not easy, but it is the truth. And here's another profound truth. If not that person, someone else would have come. Because what you need to learn will find its way back. The only difference is who will be chosen to knock on your door this time. So the question is no longer, who did this to me? But rather, why did I react so strongly to that person? This is a spiritual tool for you to look inward and begin real transformation from within. And one of the most profound tools is the ability to separate the person from the situation. Meaning you no longer say, that person is the cause of this pain. But you see, they were simply a condition, the right person arriving at the right moment to help you see what's still unhealed inside. When you can do this, you begin to step into a new depth of maturity. You no longer react, you reflect. You no longer blame, you observe. You no longer carry the weight. You realize you just learned something. And I want to share again something you may want to remember for a very long time. No one is wrong. There is only the right condition to awaken the karma within us. Next time when someone close to you causes pain, pause, breathe, ask yourself, am I hurting because of what happened or because of who did it? And if you can distinguish those two, you've just broken a major loop in your life. The journey of inner growth is not a journey toward perfection. It is a journey of recognizing where you're reacting and then choosing to reflect instead, with awareness. You don't need to be perfect, but you do need to know where you stand in each emotion. And if today you can simply realize, I blamed someone, but really, I hadn't looked at what's still unhealed inside me, then congratulations, you are growing from the inside. And that is what every message from the Inner World podcast hopes you'll one day reach. The one who causes you pain is not your enemy, but a friend playing the opposite role, helping you see yourself. Are you ready to look within? There is a question that I believe, if you can answer it, your life will enter an entirely new chapter. Did that person hurt me, or were they merely touching something that was already inside me? In the previous part of the Inner World podcast, we discussed a truth. It's not the situation that causes pain, it's the person tied to that situation. Now, I want to go one layer deeper with you, a layer that will help you not only understand your pain, but begin to move through it with the light of awakening. Let's start with something that seems simple. Every event in our life arrives through causes and conditions. Nothing happens by accident. No one shows up at the wrong time, and it's never a matter of bad luck that you met someone. You might be hearing this and thinking, are you saying the pain I've experienced was necessary? The answer is yes, but not to make you suffer. Rather, to help you clearly see where you are still unhealed. No one can hurt us unless there is a seed within us. This is one of the deepest truths you will need time to understand. But once you see it, you will live from an entirely different place. You will no longer ask, why did that person come into my life? Instead, you will begin to ask yourself, what is this condition triggering inside me? That is why I say to you, conditions are not the culprits, they are the catalysts. It's not that the other person is the cause. They are simply the timely touch that brings a dormant karmic force into awareness. It's not that the circumstance is to blame, it's just the necessary condition for the result to unfold, for awareness to be awakened. I call this the law of conditioned triggers. Karma operates. Awareness awakens. And if you are still with me, I invite you to ask yourself, in the recent things that made me suffer, have I forgotten the seed within myself? On the inner journey, the right question matters more than a quick answer. And if you can pause and deeply reflect on what I just shared, you will step into the fourth layer, the layer of compassion. Why? Because when you realize that the other person didn't intentionally hurt you, but was simply the one chosen to awaken a karmic part within you, you no longer resent them. You begin to learn from them. And at that moment, you generate a different kind of energy. The energy of human transformation. You don't have to forgive immediately. You don't need to do anything grand. Just one small thing. Separate the person from the karma. No longer say, "That is the person who hurt me." Instead, say more accurately, "That is the person who brought the condition that helped me see the karma in me." When you can say that, your heart is freed. You may still ask, "But I still feel sad, still feel hurt." Yes, that's normal. But let that sadness flow through you rather than freeze you. Because within that flow is where the deepest lesson lies. No one is wrong, there is only the right condition to awaken the karma within us. And this is what I hope you remember clearly from today. When we stop labeling others as the one who hurt me, we finally begin to learn the lesson. This is how you transcend yourself from the deepest place within. Because truly, every pain arrives for you to learn. Every condition has a purpose. And every event, whether icy or warm, holds the potential to bring you closer to your true self. So if today you're still blaming someone, I invite you to change the question. Could that person be the condition helping me clearly see something unhealed? And once you begin learning from the condition, instead of resisting it, you have just begun to live authentically. And you have just begun to transform from within. You know, after all we've just explored, from being present with karma, seeing through identity, to separating conditions from results, there is one important thing that may be the turning point for the entire process of transformation. And that is called appreciation, gratitude. If you can sincerely appreciate the lesson and be grateful to the person who brought it to you, then immediately the negative energy within you begins to dissolve. Do you know why unpleasantness keeps coming back? Because you haven't completed the lesson it carries. And if you still hold resentment, still feel tormented, still wish to change the past, then you have not truly completed this lesson. On the other hand, if you can pause, look at that unpleasant experience, and say in your heart, "I am grateful for this lesson, and I appreciate the person who brought it." Then the moment you say that with sincerity, the energy of unpleasantness will reduce in intensity or even disappear entirely. Why is that? Because the dominant energy within you has changed. You are no longer resisting, no longer blaming, no longer running away. You are being compassionate, learning the lesson, and feeling gratitude. And that is the highest vibrational state a conscious human being can live in. I'm saying this not just for you to understand, but for you to apply. Today, when you remember an unpleasant experience, try changing your perspective. Maybe that person unintentionally awakened my awareness. Maybe that event was a necessary condition for me to learn about my inner self. And finally, I'm grateful for that, because without it, I wouldn't have come this far. And you know, if you can live like that, you have entered a deeper layer of transformation, not just dissolving karma, but actively creating new positive karma. This leads us to today's final part, the place where I believe many people need guidance most. How do we not only resolve karma, but also create merit, virtue, and a new mind? Yes, dissolving karma is a reaction, but creating a new mind, that is consciously living with awareness. So how do we build that new foundation? I want to share with you 2 specific actions, and you can begin today. First, generate merit and virtue through kind actions. You don't need to do anything grand. A kind word, a sincere act, a quiet gesture of help, all are accumulating new karmic sources, good, bright, and beautiful, so that your tomorrow is no longer just a reaction to the past. Second, cultivate positive mental imagery. That means thinking about, imagining, and remembering good things, uplifting and wholesome images. Repeat them every day. Like someone planting seeds, just keep nurturing patiently. And one day, new awareness, a new mind, a new self within you will be awakened. Instead of reacting to karma, cultivate positive mental images to consciously create new karma. You don't need to go far. Just turn inward and ask yourself, what am I thinking every day? What am I imagining about life? Popular consciousness am I cultivating, positive or negative? And if you don't like your current reality, start with your source concept, because that's where everything begins. When you change your concept of yourself, you change how you behave. When you change the image in your mind, you change the reality outside. And when you are grateful for every lesson that arrives, even if it doesn't come in a beautiful form, then you have officially graduated from the school of karma. This is a map of consciousness for you to choose your own path. Begin with gratitude, act with kindness, repeat with a clear mind, and you will rewrite your own destiny. And now, I invite you to fall silent for a moment and ask yourself, what am I planting in my mind today? Let that question lead you inward, to the deepest place where you can truly begin again. Have you ever wondered why some people do so much yet still feel burdened, while others live very simply but always feel light and happy? The answer doesn't lie in what they have. It lies in how they think and what they believe about the life they are living. In the previous section, we stepped into the depth of transformation, from understanding karma, seeing conditions clearly, to being grateful for the lessons. But there is another force, like an invisible current, that governs all the outcomes in your life. And that force is called trust. Let me guide you through the deeper layers of this concept. A wise person is not one who knows much, but one who knows how to turn complexity into simplicity. And from that simplicity, they gain the most precious things: joy, lightness, and trust. In contrast, suffering begins when we do the opposite, turning simplicity into complexity. We overthink, worry excessively, doubt, imagine all sorts of things, and then create negative scenarios in our own minds. No one forces us to suffer. We are simply using our imagination to punish ourselves. And you know, this is exactly when we need to understand belief, imagination, and trust are not the same. The belief is faith in something. It can be right or wrong, positive or negative. Imagination is the image, memory, or interpretation that arises in our minds, usually rooted in the past. But trust is when you choose to believe in a positive image, with clear guidance, repeatedly reinforced and nurtured by action. And at that moment, belief is no longer vague. It becomes the driving force of your future. The story of Confucius seeing his student steal food and feeling deep disappointment, only to discover that the student was quietly protecting everyone, is a lesson for us. Even what our eyes see and ears hear is not necessarily the truth. So ask yourself, the things you imagine, the things you believe, the stories you tell yourself every day, how much of it is actually true, and how much is just imprinted imagination from the past? Many people say, "I no longer have faith." But the truth is, they still believe, just in negative memories. And if you truly want to change your life, you must shift the energy of trust into the future. Imagine you are envisioning something, a career, a new state of health, a stable financial foundation. You don't just dream, you write it down, you plan it out, you act step by step, and you trust in that image. That is trust, the highest energy of transformation. Not to talk about the past, but to choose your future. If you remember the past, choose the positive to keep your heart bright. But trust must be directed toward the future, toward what you envision, so that you act rightly and achieve new outcomes. And if you still doubt the power of trust, remember this saying. I call it the code of miracles. As long as you trust, miracles will appear. Long as you persist, success is inevitable. I don't need you to believe my words, but I invite you to try believing in the image of the future you truly desire. Believe and write it down. Believe and take action. Believe and live as if it is already ready to happen. That is no longer imagination, it is visioning. And visioning is the heartbeat of a conscious life. Because in the end, what matters is not how much you've heard, but how you live after you've heard it. From this very moment, choose an image of yourself in the future: abundant health, a stable career, a peaceful mind. Then quietly say in your heart, I trust in this. And each day, act with that trust, because you know you never need to be perfect to begin. You just need to trust strongly enough not to give up. That is the key, and that is the journey. Dear friend, we have just walked together through a journey of miracles, from becoming aware of karma to transforming through compassion, and then illuminating the future with trust and clear vision. And as you have seen, all suffering begins with how we see, but all transformation also begins the moment we realize we have been seeing it wrong. True wealth is not just having a lot, but knowing that what we have is enough. True peace is not just silence on the outside, but stillness within. And a life worth living is not one without challenges, but one where each challenge becomes a lesson in awakening. I don't expect you to believe everything I say. I only hope you pause for a moment, reflect for a moment, and try living it for a moment. Because if you truly try living what we shared today, you will never need anyone to convince you again. If you find value in these insights, please consider carefully before hitting like, subscribing to the channel, or sharing it with someone. Don't do it out of habit. Do it because you genuinely feel the need to spread awareness to those who are drowning in exhaustion, confusion, and the repetitive suffering of unawareness each day. You may not be able to control everything, but you can absolutely choose how you live with everything that comes your way. I am Liam Johnson. See you in the next session, where we will continue this path together, deeper and stronger. Because awareness begins with one person, but it can ripple through an entire generation.